Imagine this. You're at the grocery store buying a pack of gum, and you hand the cashier a quarter. No big deal, right? But what if I told you that quarter could have been worth $4 million? Yep, that's the kind of mistake that would keep you up at night, questioning all your life choices. Well, today we're talking about the 2004 Ellis Island, Washington quarter, one of the rarest and most valuable quarters in existence. So, before you go spending your pocket change on snacks, stick around, because I'm going to show you exactly what to look for. This could be the difference between a 25-cent coin and a life-changing fortune. Alright, let's break this down. The 2004 Ellis Island, Washington quarter is part of the famous state quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. But here's the kicker. Not all of these quarters are created equal. Some have an extremely rare error that makes them worth millions. So, what makes this particular coin so special? Let's go over the key reasons. First, there's a major minting error that happened with some of these quarters. Instead of being struck on the standard copper-nickel planchet, a few were mistakenly struck on 90% silver planchets, leftover blanks from another coin series. That's like ordering a regular coffee and getting a fancy cappuccino with gold flakes on top. Second, some of these quarters have a dramatic double die error. That means certain details, like the lettering or Washington's face, appear slightly doubled. It's like he's got a ghostly twin right next to him. And trust me, coin collectors love these errors. And finally, there's an extremely rare misalignment error that makes George Washington's portrait look like he's slightly turning his head, like he just heard someone mention free tacos. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know if I have one of these bad boys? Here's how to check. First, grab a magnifying glass or just use your phone's camera. Look for any doubling in the letters or Washington's face. Second, drop the coin on a hard surface and listen to the sound. If it has a high-pitched ping instead of the usual dull clink, it might be silver. Lastly, if the image on the coin looks a little off, you could be holding on to something extremely valuable. And just to put this into perspective, one of these rare 2004 quarters recently sold at auction for $4 million. That's more than most people's houses. Personal story now. Let me tell you about my buddy Kevin. Kevin used to think coin collecting was boring. He'd laugh at me every time I told him to check his pocket change point. One day, we were at a diner grabbing burgers, and he pulled out some quarters to pay. I happened to glance down and notice something weird about one of them. I snatched it out of his hand so fast, you'd think I was a magician. Turns out he had a rare double die quarter. Not the $4 million one, but it was still worth over $2,000. The best part? He was about to spend it on fries and a soda. That was the day Kevin became a believer. Now, he checks every single coin before he spends it. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when you're holding on to a fortune. Conclusion and call to action. All right, let's recap. The 2004 Ellis Island, Washington quarter could be worth up to $4 million if it has the right errors, silver planchet, double die, or misalignment. If you find one, you might just hit the jackpot. So, if you want to learn more about valuable coins, rare finds, and how to turn your pocket change into real money, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time with tips on coin hunting, market trends, and how to spot hidden treasures. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, digging for some loose change, and you hand the cashier a quarter. A totally normal, everyday quarter. But what if I told you that quarter could be worth $4 million? Yeah, you might have just given away a small fortune for a pack of gum. Today, we're talking about the 2007 Ellis Island, Washington quarter. Yep, the Denver Mint version. And why some of these bad boys are worth a life-changing amount of money. So stick around because you do not want to miss this. Alright, let's get into it. The 2007 Ellis Island quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, celebrating different states with cool designs. This one, it honors New Jersey and Ellis Island, the historic entry point for millions of immigrants chasing the American dream. Little did they know, one of these coins would turn into a modern-day dream worth $4 million. Now, what makes it so special? Well, not all quarters are created equal. Some of these 2007 quarters have insane minting errors that make them incredibly rare and valuable. Let's break it down. First up, we've got the legendary off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press, and boom, you've got a super wonky looking quarter. The crazier the misalignment, the higher the value. Then there's the double die error. This is when the design gets stamped twice, creating a slight doubling effect, usually noticeable on the lettering or Washington's face. It's like he's seeing double, and collectors go absolutely nuts over these. And the rarest of them all? The silver planchet error. Some of these quarters were mistakenly struck on silver instead of the standard copper-nickel mix. If you've got one, you're basically holding a golden ticket. Not literally golden, but you get the idea. Now, let's talk about how to check if you have one. Grab a magnifying glass because we all have one lying around, right? Or just zoom in with your phone. A slightly off-center design. If it looks like Washington is leaning to one side, you might be onto something. Doubled letters or numbers, especially in Liberty, or the date. A weirdly bright silver shine or a high-pitched ring when dropped on a table. That could mean it's made of silver. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin Mark. Mark used to think collecting coins was just for old guys at flea markets. Then one day, he was cleaning out his car and found a random quarter in the cup holder. Instead of tossing it in the meter, he checked it. Turns out, it was a rare misprint worth $800. He called me freaking out, like, dude, I almost used this for a vending machine snack. And that was the moment he became a full-blown coin hunter. Now, he's constantly checking every piece of change he gets, and I swear, he's more excited about finding a quarter than his actual paycheck. Conclusion and call to action. So what's the moral of the story? Always check your change. The 2007 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter could be your ticket to an early retirement. Imagine paying for a coffee and accidentally giving away $4 million. Yikes. If you love crazy coin stories like this and want to learn more ways to turn your spare change into serious cash, hit that subscribe button. I post videos all the time on valuable coins, collecting tips, and hidden gems you might already have in your pocket. Now go grab your coin jar, check your quarters, and what if I told you that a simple 2018 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter, yes, the one you probably have in your pocket right now, could be worth a staggering $8 million. Yep, you heard that right. That little piece of change could change your life. Now, before you start frantically digging through your couch cushions, stick with me. In the next few minutes, I'll tell you exactly why this coin is worth a fortune, how you can spot one, and what to do if you hit the jackpot. Plus, I've got a crazy personal story about the time I almost spent a rare coin without realizing it. Trust me, you don't want to make that mistake. Alright, let's get into it. The 2018 D. Ellis Island quarter was released as part of the America the Beautiful series, honoring historical landmarks. But not all of these quarters are created equal. Some of them have a rare error that makes them ridiculously valuable. Like, life-changingly valuable. So what makes this coin so special? 3 things. First, we've got the mule error. This happens when the front and back of the coin were struck with mismatched dies, creating a unique and rare variety. Basically, the coin looks like it's part Ellis Island, part what the heck happened here? Collectors go crazy for these errors because they weren't supposed to happen. Second, some of these quarters were accidentally struck on a silver planchet instead of the usual copper-nickel blend. A regular quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but the silver ones? They're slightly heavier and have a distinct ping sound when you drop them on a hard surface. That's the sound of money, literally. And finally, there's a rare die crack on certain 2018 D. Ellis Island quarters that makes them even more valuable. A tiny crack in the minting process creates a raised line across the coin, like a secret signature from the mint itself. If you spot one of these, hold on to it like it's a winning lottery ticket. Now, I know what you're thinking, how do I check if I have one? Easy. Grab a magnifying glass, or, let's be honest, just use your phone's camera and zoom in like a detective. Look for these signs. A mismatched or odd-looking design on the front and back, a weight that's slightly heavier than a regular quarter, a unique crack or raised mark on the coin surface. If you find a 2018 D. Ellis Island quarter that checks these boxes, you could be sitting on an $8 million payday. Personal story now. Let me tell you about the time I almost made the biggest mistake of my life. A few years back, I was at a gas station, paying for snacks. The cashier handed me some change, and I barely glanced at it before shoving it into my pocket. Later that night, while going through my coins, because yes, I check every single one, I spotted a weird-looking quarter. It had a small die crack and looked slightly different from the others. I looked it up, and boom, it was a rare error coin worth thousands. I was this close to using it for a bag of chips. Moral of the story? Always check your change before spending it. You never know when a small quarter could be worth a massive fortune. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? Your spare change isn't just pocket lint, it could be life-changing money. The 2018 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with rare errors is out there. And one of them is worth a jaw-dropping $8 million. Now, here's what you need to do. First, check your quarters. Second, if you find anything that looks unusual, get it appraised. And third, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I drop videos like this all the time, helping you find hidden treasures in your pocket change. Who knows? Your next grocery run might just make you a millionaire. Now go check your coins and Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for so you don't accidentally spend a fortune on a candy bar. Stick around because this is one coin you definitely don't want to overlook. Now, before we get too excited and start flipping through every quarter in sight, let's talk about what makes this 2022 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter so valuable. Not all of them are worth millions, but a handful of them have serious jackpot potential. First off, this quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's American Women Quarters program, celebrating historical figures. But here's the thing. Some of these coins left the mint with rare errors that turned them from everyday change into million-dollar treasures. So, what exactly should you be looking for? Number 1. A rare misprint error. Some of these coins were struck with a double die, meaning certain details look blurry or have a shadow effect. It's like the quarter had one too many cups of coffee and started seeing double. If you notice extra outlines around Washington's face or Ellis Island, you might be in luck. Number 2. A wrong metal planchet. A few of these quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. If your coin has a different color or sounds a little too tingy, when dropped on a hard surface, it could be one of the rare ones. And number 3, a major die break. Some of these coins have cracks in the design caused by the die wearing down during minting. These cracks can look like lightning bolts across the coin. And let's be honest, a coin with built-in battle scars? That just screams rare and valuable. Now, you might be thinking, okay, how do I check my quarters? Easy. Grab a magnifying glass, hold it under a bright light, and look closely at the lettering, Washington's face, and the edges. If anything looks off, blurry, or cracked, you could be holding a winner. Personal story. Let me tell you a quick story. A while back, a buddy of mine, we'll call him Mike, was at a gas station paying for snacks. He gets his change back and notices a quarter that looks a little strange. Instead of just tossing it in his pocket, he snaps a pic and sends it to me. Now, Mike isn't a coin guy at all. In fact, his idea of collecting is keeping old receipts in his car until they disintegrate. But after I checked the picture, I told him to hold on to that quarter tight. Long story short, he got it appraised and ended up selling it for a whopping $12,000. He thought he was just buying a soda and some gum that day, but instead, he got a huge payday. That's why I always say, check your change. You never know when life is handing you a small fortune disguised as spare coins. Conclusion and call to action. So, let's recap. If you have a 2022 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter, don't just spend it without checking first. Look for misprints, doubling, cracks, and that rare silver planchet. Because if you've got the right one, you could be sitting on $2 million. Now, before you rush off to inspect every quarter in sight, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I post all the time about rare coins, hidden treasures, and how to make money from the change in your pocket. What if I told you that the change sitting in your pocket right now might be worth $7 million? Yeah, you heard that right. $7 million. Now, before you start flipping over furniture and dumping out every coin jar in the house, let's talk about what makes this quarter so special and how you might just have a hidden fortune in your hands. Stick around because this could be the most valuable video you watch today. Alright, let's break it down. The 2020 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter is part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, celebrating famous landmarks across the U.S. But somehow, a few of these quarters ended up becoming million-dollar treasures. Why? because of some ultra-rare minting errors that make collectors go absolutely wild. First, there's a major off-center strike error. Some of these quarters were struck so far off-center that Washington looks like he's trying to photobomb the coin. It's hilarious and extremely valuable. Second, there's a rare double die error on some of these quarters. That means certain features on the coin, like the words United States of America or Washington's face, appear slightly doubled, like the coin had a little too much coffee that morning. Third, and this is the big one, some of these coins were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. That means they weigh a little more, have a different ring when dropped, and are worth insane amounts of money. If you find one of these, you might as well start house shopping. So how do you check if you have one? Grab a magnifying glass, or let's be real, just use your phone camera and zoom in. Look for doubling on the text or any off-center strikes. Drop it on a hard surface and listen. If it has a high-pitched ting instead of a dull clunk, you might have a silver one. Weigh it. A normal quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If yours is heavier, jackpot potential. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin Jake. Jake is not a coin collector. In fact, he used to laugh at me for checking my spare change. But one day, while getting coffee, he got a weird-looking quarter as change. It looked off, so instead of spending it, he sent me a picture. And guess what? It was a rare error coin worth over $15,000. Jake went from making fun of me to becoming a full-time coin hunter overnight. Now, every time we meet up, instead of saying, "Hey, what's up?" he just pulls out a handful of change and goes, "Anything good?" Moral of the story? Don't ignore your quarters. One of them might just change your life. Conclusion and call to action. So what did we learn today? The 2020 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter could be worth $7 million if you find the right one. Check for errors, weigh your coins, and never underestimate the power of spare change. And if you love learning about rare and valuable coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time with tips on how to find valuable coins, what to look for, and how to turn your pocket change into real money. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you pay with cash, and the cashier hands you some change. You toss the coins into your pocket without a second thought. But wait, what if one of those quarters was worth $9 million? That's right. A simple 2019 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter could be hiding in your pocket, and if it's the right one, you're looking at a life-changing jackpot. Before you start sprinting to your coin jar, stick around because I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, why this quarter is so insanely valuable, and how you can cash in big time. The 2019 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series, celebrating iconic places in the U.S. But what makes this one so special? Simple. A rare minting mistake. This quarter is worth $9 million because of a 1 in a million printing error that happened at the Denver Mint. Some of these coins were mistakenly struck on pure silver planchets instead of the standard copper-nickel mix. That's like ordering a regular coffee and getting a handcrafted barista masterpiece topped with gold flakes. Completely unexpected and completely valuable. But wait, there's more. Some of these quarters also have a misalignment error, where part of the design is slightly off-center. It makes George Washington look like he's leaning forward, like he just overheard someone say, "Hey, that quarter might be worth millions." And then there's the holy grail, the double die error. This means some of the lettering and design appear slightly doubled, almost like your eyes are playing tricks on you. But it's not your eyes, it's real, and it makes this coin even more desirable to collectors. Now, how do you know if you have one of these rare gems? Step 1. Check the mint mark. It has to be from Denver, meaning there's a little D under the year 2019. Step 2. Look at the color. If it has a slightly different shine compared to a regular quarter, it might be silver. Step 3. Check for errors. Is George Washington looking a little slouched? Are the letters slightly doubled? If yes, congratulations, you might be holding a gold mine. Personal story now, let me tell you a story about my cousin, Jake. Jake is not a coin guy. If a penny falls out of his pocket, he won't even bother picking it up. One day, he calls me in full panic mode. "Dude, I think I have a rare quarter." He sends me a blurry picture, and I can barely see a thing. But he insists it looks different. So I tell him to do the classic ting test. That's where you drop the quarter on a hard surface and listen to the sound. If it has a higher pitched ring instead of a dull thud, it could be silver. He does it, hears the ting, and starts freaking out. He takes it to a local coin shop and guess what? It wasn't the $9 million quarter, but it was a rare silver planchet error worth $5,000. Not bad for something he almost spent on a vending machine snack. Moral of the story? Always check your coins. You never know when you're holding on to something way more valuable than just 25 cents. Conclusion and call to action. Alright, let's recap. If you find a 2019 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter, check for silver, misalignments, and doubling. If you've got one with those rare errors, congratulations, you might just be sitting on millions. And hey, if you love learning about rare coins and how to find hidden treasure in your pocket change, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got more insane coin stories, money-making strategies, and tips to turn your everyday change into serious cash. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you pay with cash, and the cashier hands you back some change. You barely look at it before tossing it into your pocket. But what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $7 million? That's right, $7 million. Before you run to check under your couch cushions, sit tight. Today, we're talking about the 2017 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter, why it's so valuable, what rare errors make it worth a fortune, and how you can spot one in your own spare change. Alright, let's get into it. The 2017 D. Ellis Island quarter was part of the U.S. Mints America the Beautiful series, featuring historic landmarks. And Ellis Island? One of the most iconic locations in U.S. history. But here's where things get crazy. Most of these quarters are only worth face value. But a select few, they have errors so rare that they've sold for millions. Yes, you heard that right. So what makes this particular quarter worth $7 million? Let's break it down. First, there's a wild minting error where some of these coins were struck on the wrong metal planchet. Instead of the standard copper-nickel blend, they were mistakenly struck on pure silver. That's like expecting a regular cup of coffee and getting a gold-plated espresso from a five-star cafe. Second, some of these quarters have an insane misprint where Lady Liberty's torch on the reverse has an extra doubling effect, making it look like she's holding two torches. Double the torch, double the value. And the rarest of them all? A die clash error that creates a ghostly outline of Washington's face on the reverse side, as if he's staring right back at you like, yeah, you just found a life-changing coin. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know if I have one of these? Simple. Grab a magnifying glass or just zoom in with your phone. Look for a strange shimmer or different coloration that might suggest a silver planchet doubled torch effect on the reverse side, a faint ghostly image of Washington's face where it definitely shouldn't be. Personal story now. Let me tell you about a guy I know. Let's call him Mike. Mike was not a coin collector. In fact, he once told me he thought all quarters were worth, well, a quarter. But one day, while emptying out his car, he noticed a weird-looking quarter in his cup holder. Instead of ignoring it, he decided to look it up. Long story short, that weird quarter was an error coin worth over $5,000. He was so excited he almost choked on his coffee. Now he checks every piece of change he gets. And that's the lesson here. You don't need to be a professional coin collector to find treasure. You just need to pay attention. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? The 2017 D. Ellis Island quarter might just be your ticket to millions. Errors like silver planchets, doubling effects, and die clashes make some of these worth life-changing money. Now it's your turn. Go check your pockets, your coin jars, even that random change rolling around in your car. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. And if you love discovering hidden gems in your pocket change, make sure to subscribe for more videos on rare coins, valuable errors, and secret strategies to turn everyday money into a fortune. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments, what's the coolest coin you've ever found? Imagine this. You're at a vending machine craving a snack. You pull out some change, pop in a quarter, and hear the machine reject it. Annoying, right? But what if I told you that little rejected quarter could be worth $5 million? That's right, $5 million. And you almost fed it to a vending machine. Today, we're talking about the 2015 D. Ellis Island Washington Quarter, why it's worth a fortune, what makes it special, and how you might have one sitting in your pocket right now. So before you spend your change on a bag of chips, keep watching. This could be the most valuable pocket find of your life. Alright, let's get into it. The 2015 D. Ellis Island Quarter was released as part of the America the Beautiful series. Normally, these quarters are worth, well, 25 cents. But here's where things get crazy. Some of these quarters were struck with a rare error. One that turned them into million-dollar coins. So what makes this coin worth $5 million? There are a few things to look for. First, the biggest factor is a misprint that happened at the Denver Mint. Some of these coins were struck on the wrong metal planchet. Instead of the usual copper-nickel blend, they were accidentally printed on solid silver blanks. That's like ordering a fast food burger and getting served a 5-star steak. Totally unexpected and incredibly valuable. Second, there's an ultra-rare doubling error on the front of some of these quarters. If you look closely at George Washington's face, you'll see a slight double image. It's like he's having a blurry vision moment, which honestly, same after a long day. And finally, some of these rare quarters have what collectors call a ghost mint mark. That means the D mint mark is either missing or barely visible, making them even more sought after. So, how do you know if you have one of these multimillion-dollar coins? Step 1. Grab a magnifying glass or use your phone camera to zoom in. Check for doubling on Washington's face. Step 2. Weigh your quarter. Silver quarters weigh about 6.25 grams, while regular ones are around 5.67 grams. That tiny difference could mean a huge payday. Step 3. If the D mint mark is missing or looks faded, you might be looking at a life-changing coin. Personal story now. Let me tell you a story about my cousin Mike. Mike is the guy who never checks his change. He spends quarters like they're, well, quarters. One day, he found an old quarter in his car and was about to toss it in a tip jar. But for some reason, maybe it was fate, he decided to check it first. Turns out, he had a rare quarter from the State Quarter series worth over $1,000. That's when he called me in total disbelief, yelling, "Dude, I almost tipped away $1,000. And ever since that day, he checks every single coin he touches." Moral of the story? Don't be like old Mike. Be like new Mike. Check your change. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? 1. Vending machines might reject your most valuable coins. 2. The 2015 D. Ellis Island Washington Quarter could be worth $5 million if it has the right errors. And 3. Always check your pockets, your couch cushions, and your car because treasure could be hiding anywhere. If you want to hear more crazy stories about valuable coins and secret coin hunting tips, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time about rare coins, how to spot them, and how to turn your pocket change into big money. Imagine this. You're grabbing a snack, you get some change back, and there it is, a regular-looking 2010 P. Ellis Island Washington Quarter. But what if I told you this little coin could be worth $4 million? Yep, that's right. Enough to buy a mansion, a fleet of sports cars, or, if you're like me, enough to fill a room with rare coins and still have cash left over. Before you flip over your couch and start checking your coin jar, stick with me. Today, I'm breaking down exactly why this coin is so valuable, how to spot one, and most importantly, how you could have one hiding in plain sight. Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with the basics. The 2010 P. Ellis Island Washington Quarter was released as part of the America the Beautiful Quarter series. It honors Ellis Island, a historic gateway for millions of immigrants coming to America. Cool, right? But here's where things get really interesting. Some of these quarters have an insanely rare minting error. We're talking about a misaligned die that makes George Washington's head look like he's trying to dodge a dodgeball, a double strike error where the design overlaps, making it look like he's got a shadow. Spooky and valuable, and the Holy Grail, a rare silver planchet mistake, meaning some of these coins were accidentally struck on a silver disc instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. So why does this matter? Well, collectors go absolutely nuts for these kinds of errors. And when demand skyrockets, so does the price. That's how we got to this jaw-dropping $4 million price tag for the rarest of the rare. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but how do I know if I have one? Good question. Here's what to do. First, grab a magnet. If your quarter sticks, sorry, it's just a regular quarter. But if it doesn't, you might have a silver error coin. Second, listen to the sound it makes when you drop it on a hard surface. Silver coins make a higher pitched ring compared to regular quarters. Give it the ting test. And third, take a close look under a magnifying glass. If the details look slightly blurry or there are weird extra lines around Washington's face, you could have a valuable double die error. Personal story, let me tell you about my buddy Mike. Mike wasn't into coins at all. He thought I was crazy for checking every single quarter that passed through my hands. But one day, we were out getting burgers, and he pulled a weird-looking quarter from his change. I took one look at it and nearly choked on my fries. It had a double strike error, and after a little research, we found out it was worth over $8,000. Let's just say Mike became a believer real fast. Now he checks every coin he gets. And honestly, I don't blame him. You never know when life is handing you a fortune disguised as pocket change. Conclusion and call to action. So what did we learn today? The 2010 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter could be hiding in your pocket, your car, or that old jar of coins you haven't touched in years. And if you find one with the right errors, you could be sitting on millions. If you love learning about rare coins and how to turn your spare change into serious cash, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm dropping new videos all the time with coin hunting tips, hidden treasures, and stories about people just like you who struck it rich with coins. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you pay in cash. Yes, some people still do that, and the cashier hands you back some change. You glance at it, toss it in your pocket, and go about your day. But what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $6 million? Yeah, you heard that right. Now, before you run to the nearest coin jar like you're on a scavenger hunt, let's talk about why this specific 2000 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter is worth a life-changing amount of money and how you can spot one. Because trust me, after today, you'll never look at your change the same way again. So, let's get into it. The 2000 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, celebrating different states and their historical landmarks. But here's the thing, not all of them are created equal. Some are just, well, regular old quarters, and others are the lottery ticket of the coin world. So why is this quarter worth $6 million? Let's break it down. First up, we've got a ridiculously rare minting error. A small number of these quarters were struck on experimental planchets. Basically, the US Mint was testing out different metal compositions, and a few of these sneaky coins got released into circulation. Think of it like an artist accidentally leaving a rare sketch inside a book. It was never supposed to happen, but now it's insanely valuable. Second, some of these coins were struck using a misaligned die, causing part of the design to look off-center. George Washington's face might look a little, let's say, confused. If he looks like he just heard about a $6 million quarter himself, you might be onto something. And last but not least, there's a famous doubling error on some of these coins. That means parts of the lettering or Washington's profile have a shadow-like effect, almost like the coin is glitching in real life. If your quarter looks like it's got a double vision problem, hold on to it tight. Now, how do you know if you've got the golden ticket of quarters? First, check the weight. If your 2000 P. Ellis Island quarter feels slightly heavier or lighter than usual, that could be a sign. Second, grab a magnifying glass or just zoom in with your phone and look for any doubling in the letters or design. Third, if the metal color looks different, maybe more silvery or even slightly gold-toned, you could be holding a one-of-a-kind experimental planchet error. Personal story now. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, my cousin was cleaning out his old junk drawer. You know, the one where people keep random keys, expired coupons, and batteries that may or may not work. He found a bunch of quarters and started looking them up, just for fun. Lo and behold, he spotted a weird-looking one from the State Quarters series. It had some funky doubling and a slightly off-center strike that he thought, maybe it's worth a few bucks. So he took it to a local coin shop and guess what? It was an error coin worth over $1,500. Now, that's not $6 million, but for something he found buried under receipts and an old phone charger, I'd say that's a pretty good payday. So, moral of the story? You never know where these rare coins are hiding. Could be in your pocket, in an old jar, or even stuck between the couch cushions waiting to change your life. Conclusion and call to action. All right, let's recap. The 2000 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter with the rare errors we talked about could be worth up to $6 million. So, if you've got some spare change lying around, you might want to give it a second look before you spend it on a vending machine snack. And if you want to hear more crazy stories about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time on rare coins, secret coin hunting tips, and how to turn your everyday change into serious cash. Imagine this. You're digging through your pocket change, maybe looking for a quarter to feed a parking meter, and you come across a 1999 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter. No big deal, right? Just another quarter. But what if I told you that tiny piece of metal in your hand could be worth a jaw-dropping $9 million? Yeah, you heard that right. Not $9. Not 900. $9 million. Before you run off to empty every coin jar in your house, stick with me. I'm about to tell you exactly why this quarter is so valuable, how to spot one, and what you should do if you find one. First, let's talk about the basics. The 1999 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's 50-state quarters program. This was a huge deal at the time because people went crazy collecting these. But not all of them are worth just 25 cents. Some have rare errors and variations that make them worth life-changing money. So, what makes the $9 million version so special? Here's what you need to look for. First up, the mistrike error. Some of these quarters were struck off-center, making it look like Lady Liberty is doing the electric slide right off the coin. If you see an off-center design, don't spend that quarter. You might be holding something valuable. Next, we've got the wrong metal planchet error. A handful of these quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. If your 1999 P quarter looks extra shiny, feels heavier, or sounds different when dropped, you might be looking at one of the ultra-rare silver-struck versions. And the biggest jackpot, the double die error. Some of these coins have a noticeable doubling in the words Ellis Island, Liberty, or even on George Washington's face. It's like the U.S. Mint decided to give these coins a shadow effect, but instead of costing extra, it pays extra. So, how do you check if you have one of these rare quarters? First, grab a magnifying glass, or let's be honest, just zoom in with your phone camera. Look for any off-center striking where the design looks shifted. Check if the metal looks different from a regular quarter, silver instead of copper-nickel. Inspect the lettering for any doubling effect, especially on Ellis Island and Liberty. If your quarter checks all the boxes, you might be sitting on a $9 million fortune. Personal story now, let me tell you about my buddy, Chris. Chris didn't care about coins at all. In fact, he used to roast me for always checking my change point. One day, he's at a gas station, paying for snacks, and gets a weird-looking quarter in his change. Instead of just spending it, he sends me a picture, saying, "Dude, is this anything special? Or am I about to look dumb?" I took one look and told him, "You need to get that checked now." Turns out, he had an error quarter worth over $15,000. Not $9 million, but still enough to make him a believer. Now, guess who's checking every single coin he gets? That's right, Chris. Welcome to the club, buddy. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when you're holding a tiny piece of metal that could change your life. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? 1. Never ignore your pocket change. You could be sitting on a $9 million jackpot without even knowing it. 2. The 1999 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter with rare errors is one of the most valuable quarters out there. And 3. If you find one, don't spend it on snacks. Get it checked by a professional because it could be worth more than your house. If you love learning about rare coins that could make you rich, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I post videos all the time on hidden treasures in your pocket change, rare coin errors, and how to turn everyday coins into serious cash.